Welcome to Foothold America's U.S. Expansion Mini-Pod, 3 questions, 1 voice. I'm your host, Joanne Farquharson, President and CEO of Foothold America. Today, I'm feeling like quite the fangirl welcoming an accomplished founder and AI visionary, Geraldine McBride. She's the CEO of MyWave AI, founded 12 years ago, following her position as President of SAP North America. If you're not familiar with SAP, it's the largest enterprise resource planning software company in the world, ahead of Oracle and Microsoft, with revenue of $35 billion. Geraldine saw not only a gap in the market, but the future of AI and set out to build it. All righty, let's get started with our 3 questions, hearing one voice, Ms. Geraldine McBride. So my first question is, after looking at your profile where you have founded, led, served as a non-executive director for businesses in multiple countries, you were also the president of North America for SAP. And so how was the experience of founding a business and expanding to the US different than working in the C-suite for a Fortune 500 company?
That's a great question, and much easier actually sitting in the C-suite working for a Fortune 500 company, because you have so much in the office of the president, you have so many resources around you. It was a very brave decision, I think, to walk away from being the president of a very large multi-billion-dollar business into founding something based on a thought and an idea. Yes. But I did this because I had had 17 very successful years as a career within SAP. But I got very frustrated with the pace of innovation in a large company, because we can often become prisoners of the history of the technology and the 30 years or 40-year legacy. And so what makes you successful as a company can also make you imprisoned as a part of that success. And I could see that there was a completely different type of technology that needed to be created, which was one where you type into an interface and work is done. It isn't a tile, or it isn't like the biggest innovation at that time was bringing out a Fiori tile, which means that I can now sort of click on a tile and be directed into a portion of SAP. And I thought, well, okay, that's a good interim step, but that is not sufficient, and that isn't where the world is going. So the year that I left was very similar timing to OpenAI. And in fact, when OpenAI decided to work on large language models for what now was the generative AI revolution, I started in the same timeline to work on what we call the process domain models that enable you to be able to create agentic frameworks to build these processes where you type into an interface and the interface actually then does the work. The human doesn't have to do the work anymore. That was my mission.
And you saw that a dozen years ago. Yeah. And so, and besides the fact that you don't have the resources around you, say the dev teams and all of that, what were some of the early learnings you had when it came to being one of one and then growing from the ground up? Because there are the large companies, the big 4 accounting firms, so many different large companies are a great training ground for people, and those entrepreneurs at heart, or those visionaries that see what you saw, will take that leap. So what kind of guidance could you give listeners who are maybe thinking of making such a big change from big enterprise company to startup?
I think the key thing is we have a very clear vision in mind. Then I was very lucky in the sense that my daughter was graduating with a very strong degree out of the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And in fact, the ideas for MyWave came from work that I was doing with customers and partners in the US. And one December Christmas break, we were on a hiking trail, and she was about to go and take a job at IBM, actually following in my footsteps, because I left university to join IBM as well. And she said, well, why don't you just take this amazing idea? She said, I think this idea is incredible. I will actually not join IBM. I'll come with you and we'll go and do this together.
Oh, nice.
And so she has been on that journey. So she was actually the co-founder, Amy Johnson. And then the next step was I needed to find a really, really great engineer. Because I had the vision. I'm a technical. I'm a scientist by background. Amy also is technical, and she's a business person and also technical person by background. But neither of us were the deep engineering coders to bring that to life. So we brought on a third person who has been with us all the way through as well, where he had the right background for something. Because remember, when you're building out AI systems and when you're building out an agentic AI platform, remember, this is what we started a decade ago, an agentic AI platform that everyone says today, how did you do that? Why are you here now with this? Because we had that vision and we have been then incubating it inside big brands in different industries around the world, training it, teaching it, making it more robust, making it more reliable, which is why we can emerge today with a really strong, robust, proven platform that anyone can scale. And is why we're scaling with SAP, because it is a system that any one of the SAP partners can use, but of course it's not restricted to SAP. So my advice, coming back to sort of more directly answer your question, because I needed to give you the history to sort of put the context to that, is if you have a vision, remain true to the vision. You may tack and pivot across, the ways in which you actually get there. But surround yourself with some really great people. Those people, these three of us, have remained core and true to that vision from the beginning. We've also hired some amazing engineers. The engineers that join our company don't just get hired. We don't outsource our tech development. We actually put them through quite a rigorous test to test their thinking. We use extreme programming frameworks. We actually write code that's incredibly high quality. That is also economic, because large code bases actually are very costly to maintain. So we've got a great code base. And then what we've done is we've then put the tooling on that. So the big shift for us was when we, a year ago, put the tooling of an innovation hub on that code base, which now means that we can now extend that technology out to any partner. And we have done all the heavy lifting. So they don't even have to think about, oh, I need to now go and build an AI agent. They can just actually think of a business problem, use our technology platform to apply our agentic AI technology to it, create an agent within 1 to 3 weeks, depending on if it's a complex or a simple agent, and deploy it. And all of the security, all of the regulations, all of the governance, all of the things that you need, that everyone says, oh, I can't trust my AI because it doesn't have all these things, or it's not obedient. We've solved all of those problems. So you just all you have to do is apply it. So it's great for regulated industries, great for banks, great for government, great for SAP, great for actually any back-end system. And that's the journey we've been on. But it's been a lot of hard work to get to that point.
When you're a visionary, when you're pioneering, and again, this was 12 years you've been working on My Way of AI, getting it to where it is today. What is it like for you as a founder when maybe what you're thinking about and developing is on the cutting edge and people either don't understand it, don't know how to implement? What was that like? Because I imagine there were times when you're like, they're just not ready yet. I'm ready. I have it, but what's that like?
Yeah. So I would say that has built probably the strongest resilience in me personally as a leader. I think resilience is a really important thing. And what you've got to do is to keep making the right steps. So we were lucky in the sense that we have had great investors. So we had patient capital. We also found companies in the world that were ready, that were prepared to actually spend money on the pilots. And the pilots were really important for us, because every time we did a pilot, we learned more about how to apply the technology, how to improve the platform, how it learns and is trained on these industry process domain models. And every time we did a pilot, we actually learned the next thing. So we did actually partially fund our R&D through the pilots, which was important. Right. We ended up then with more IP knowledge and know-how as we did media, as we did energy, as we did banking, as we did insurance, as we did airlines. So we incubated in so many places inside these, and also got real humans to test it. Would they work with it? How does it feel? Is it, is it doing what it says on the tin? And then we were well ahead of the market. So, I guess you could also say, well, was it a mistake to come out with something so early? But I would argue the following. The reason why most companies are struggling today, and in fact, even if you look at the agents that are coming out in the market today, they're very narrow little single-use task-based agents. Very few people have actually gone and built the agentic frameworks to be able to bring these out at scale. And we actually have worked tirelessly on that. So we have that. That's actually a unique thing. So the way we bring a large language model and then bring that together with the industry process domain models, and the way we tie these together, it means that you can now bring out a reliable agent in less than a week or in less than 3 weeks, depending if it's a simple or complex agent. That is our secret sauce. We have perfected that because we've done the hard yards. We've put in the investment.
Part of your success had to do with the relationships that you had built at SAP. So say you didn't have that background, but you had that vision. Do you think you would have been able to get those pilot studies and those early partners?
So the pilots we actually did, some of those were actually outside of SAP. So we were not dependent in the early days on SAP, because we had to go out and actually do our own research. Like, how would you do this? This baby would never have been born inside SAP. So I knew that in order for the baby to be born, I had to leave SAP to go, and do this. In fact, very not dissimilar to the SAP founders who had to leave IBM to go and build SAP. Remember Hatso and Dietmar Hopp? They had to go and leave IBM. They had an idea. Everyone needed this integrated software. And IBM said, yeah, great, nice idea, but they're not interested. They couldn't do it. Very similar stories from my point of view in how we've come. And so, but now we are with SAP. That is incredibly helpful. So what happened was that in December of 2023, we went to Germany and we were evaluated alongside Google, Microsoft, IBM Watson, and MyWave. We were the fourth AI company to be looked at, and to be selected there to go on to their SAP Business One, SAP Business by Design technologies at the bottom end of the market, which is where we started, was amazing for us. So finding a big brother is a very important thing, because when you're now taking out a new technology, it needs to be you need a big brother alongside you. So to then work alongside SAP as their chosen AI brand to work into their core small medium business partners and their customers, that actually was a very important moment for us. Plus, of course, we released at the same time the Innovation Hub to enable those partners then to create their own AI agents.
Right.
But what happened though was that those partners also were not only looking after SAP product at the bottom end of the market, they were also in the middle and the top. And so what's happened is we've naturally now been pulled up the pyramid from the bottom to the top. So what we're finding is the speed of innovation and the requirements of process of AI agents is very fast in terms of decision cycles at the bottom. And what we're now doing is we're working with 2 of the big 4 partners at the top of the market now. And now we're not only just building, tens and hundreds of agents, we're now bringing out now thousands of agents. And that's the power of what we have done. And we are still really at the beginning of that cycle. So the only way is to continue to go up from our point of view.
As the founder, how has it been different for you to expand into the US? And I know you live there and you work there, and so you probably have more insight into the US than many of the founders we work with. But what did you notice when it came to, I'm hiring my folks in the US versus some other countries where you've hired people?
Yeah, so you're right. So because I've lived and worked in the US and done two tours of duty there over 2 different decades, I had a very good feeling for running the North American business. So I knew, the states and where all the companies are, and it made it very easy for me to mentally translate myself into how MyWave scales in that market. We could have actually birthed MyWave in America, but I actually decided to come back down to New Zealand and Australia to birth it because it's actually, well, one big benefit is New Zealand has zero capital gains tax on anything. So it's, from a taxation point of view, it's a great place to birth companies. And also we could tap into some amazing talent that was coming in from all over the world into New Zealand and Australia. So that's been a great advantage. But then the markets themselves, the adoption of those markets of our technology is in the US and is in Europe. And so then what you've got to do is then go and find great people. So we were lucky in the sense that our timing of needing new people was at a time when SAP was in fact letting go a lot of people because they were restructuring their own businesses, and they were letting go superb people into early retirement programs. So I remember the day I phoned a few of the leaders at SAP and I said, I'm looking for these kinds of people. I want you to recommend to me your top people that you are going to let go. So basically, I have been the beneficiary of some superb people who already had 20 plus year relationships into the very partners that we want to build partnerships with. So what we did is we found those people, but then of course, then you've got to go and build up payroll systems. And I think that there's a lot of regulation in terms of establishing an American entity. You've been amazing, your organization, to help us found that, create the entity, get the payroll set up. So I think that, having an organization like you saved me an enormous amount of mental stress and hassle, because what you can do is you actually are able to, you've got your fingertips now on all of the things that I need, including incorporating the company in the US. And I think, eventually we may have to domicile, the company in the US, but we're putting more and more talent into the North American market. And that's where the money is. I'm going to say the money is for us in two major markets. One's the United States, including Canada, and the other one is Europe. And if you look at the spread of our partners and the spread of our client base, it's across these two markets. And so we're becoming more and more US centric. And in fact, we're actually already sort of casing out Wyoming as a great place to have a base there, because I have never lost my passion for nature as well as my passion for business. So it's actually nice to have a combination of the two and being able to go anywhere.
Nice. So what I take from that is, one, you've leveraged the experience you've had in the US to find your talent, which it just speaks volumes about the importance of networks. And the other is your partners. And thank you for those kind words. It's so true, though, finding the right attorneys and tax and immigration and all of those things. Actually, I think it was a relationship with an immigration attorney that brought us together.
Yeah,
so
correct.
And that actually brings me to my next question, because I know from really a lot from LinkedIn, and also trying to have phone calls and meetings with you, that you could be anywhere in the world. And it strikes me that a good part of your success is that you partner with many organizations, you do the traveling, you are the face of MyWave AI. And if you were to give advice to founders who are trying to grow an organization like yours, what would you say to them in terms of their networking and building their ecosystems as a method for their growth?
Well, I think that what happens is that this is not a job. This is an absolute passion. There is no work-life balance. Work and life are actually just one thing. So what you do is that I'm very lucky. My husband's retired, so when he feels like coming on, if I'm doing a long tour somewhere, he will be at least available so we can see each other, because it's hard to always be on the road. I was joking today, we've been on the road for weeks now, but we do it because there's no right or wrong time zone to be on, because there's always somebody, no matter which end of the world I'm on, where I have to have a weird time of day call, whether it's to India, or to the UK, etc. And so I think that the key thing is to realize that the company and what we're doing, what we're achieving, isn't just a job. It's not just I'm the CEO of this. It is a passion. It is actually being able to make a difference, to change the way people consume technology and change the way business is done. And that's been a strong ethos to make a mark and leave the world a better place, because an agentic AI system was brought out to market to completely transform how people are using technology. And that's really been the focus. And then within that, making our investors a lot of money, saving the customers a lot of money,
right?
And making SAP and our partners incredibly successful because they are working with our technology, which means that they've been able to monetize it. So in the end, it's actually about making money and saving money and making the world a better place.
I do have one bonus question for you before we end. And you had touched on it before when you talked about the needs of the European market and the US market in terms of how they interact with agentic AI and the double checking and whatnot. So when you've worked in the US, grown your business in the US, what have you found are sort of primary or maybe surprising cultural differences that you didn't expect or personally had to adjust to?
Let me think about that for a minute. What I love about doing business in America is it's very aspirational. And, you know, when you ask people to jump, they normally will say how high. Because people want to be winners in the United States. And I think that there's a lot of aspiration. I think that people are more cautious in Europe. So there's a caution there. So they don't, when you ask people to jump in Europe, they won't say how high. They'll first ask why. So there's the difference. So I think look at a lot of the world's great innovations. Why do they emerge in the US? Because there is this aspirational, inspirational thinking. And yes, it may feel chaotic and crazy in the US sometimes as well. But there is a deep-seated spirit of the people, which has always really impressed me there in terms of our ability to truly be aspirational and get things done. But that's not present in all. I think the biggest disservice that the world has ever had actually globally is when procurement departments were created. I think they are the killers of innovation. These are the people who are paid to actually stop things from happening. They're what I call the departments of no. And all they do is they drive people down common procurement cycles of, oh, let's pick best practice. The problem with going and picking best practice is it's what was best practice a decade ago. Oh, let's go and pick only the few big 5 companies in the world because we feel safe that we won't get fired for picking them. But that's actually not where the true innovation is. So I think that, and that is true around the world. I think that if we could do anything to drive better innovation in the world, actually, it would be to remove the procurement departments. They add no value really at all, in my opinion. I was talking to somebody else this morning. You know, they might shave a few pennies off when you're acquiring something,
right?
But they slow things down. I'm watching another project on another part of the world, and it still hasn't kicked off because they're still trying to screw a few more cents off of transaction, yet they could be saving millions by deploying the agents. And it's like,
so they're not searching for innovation; they're searching for pennies.
Get rid of these people. And I say this is where you could take a coin out of Doge and say there's a bunch of people in the world that just slow things down. Get rid of them, all right? Because the world does not have time to be slow. Slow does not work, all right? So look at all the people around you. Call them the dementors, the people that slow things down, suck oxygen out of a room, actually add nothing to the betterment of humankind. They need to go because they're slowing everything down. And none of us have time to be slow because the world is going to move too fast and they'll be left behind. Those companies that put power to those people, that is not good. You need to empower the business leaders to make the business decisions to do what's right for the business, and let all of the administrative departments around that supposedly give governance to it. It isn't really governance. It's just called red tape. So I'm a great believer. Getting rid of the red tape would be probably the best thing to do in this world.
Thank you for joining us for this enlightening episode featuring Geraldine McBride, founder and CEO of MyWave AI. And thank you, Geraldine, for making time in your crazy busy schedule to share your expertise guiding entrepreneurs to think forward when expanding to the US and globally. If you enjoyed today's conversation, subscribe to US Expansion Minipod on your favorite platform. Published on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, you'll find engaging US expansion discussions with industry leaders and innovators. Don't forget to share this episode with your network. In the comments, you can find a link to Geraldine's LinkedIn profile to learn more about her and her work. This has been Joanne Farquharson, President and CEO of Foothold America, and that wraps up our 3 questions for today. Until next time, keep expanding your horizons.